Hello and welcome to this episode of Journey to a Dream, brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance. If you're new to this podcast, do go and have a look at some of the other episodes that are available. We speak to all sorts of people, from those setting out on their journey, those involved behind the scenes with racing here on the Isle of Man, and everything in between. And today's guest is someone who's able to share some pretty exciting news with us as we listen through the podcast. And it does definitely add an international flavour to our listening. Let's meet him now.
So I'm Lancelot Unissart, 33 years old. I'm a test engineer for Bobcat telehandlers in France. And yeah, I'm from France.
Just give us a little bit of a background to why bikes are such a big part of your life. Was this something you grew up with?
Yeah, definitely. Well, my dad always had a bike since he was 16. My mum, I think she got her bike license before the car license. So yeah, my whole family was already into it. And then when I was about 5, my dad started truck daying and doing parades, and then went into the Belgian Championship road racing. That's about where it all started.
And do you remember the first time you thought, actually, this is something I want to do?
Even before my dad started, we were already going to races. He was a mechanic, so he was doing jobs on the racetrack sometimes. So I've always been around racing. So I don't even think I said one day, oh, I want to do it, because I was already into it. So it was just like the normal path to follow.
We've spoken to a lot of riders who are from either the Isle of Man or from the UK or Ireland, and the path they sort of take is they go and they do track days and they sort of build up doing club racing. How does it work in France?
It's not exactly the same way. In some ways it can be easier. In some ways more difficult, I would say, because we don't have the steps, like we don't have the novice and clubman and then national license. And basically, if you're good enough on your first year, you can get a national straight away. But then we don't have club races. It's from the start. It goes into like a national championship. So now we have like a league championships that are around your area, but it's still about 3-4 hours drive. And then you step up to the French championship, which is like, we've got the Superbike, and we've got about 3-4 of the national championships. And yeah, you can go from like my local racetrack to something like 9-hour drive. It's just not the same way. We don't have one day event, straight into a 3-day event, because it's Friday, track day, and then Saturday, Sunday qualifying and races. It's just a different way, different configuration of meetings.
And obviously, you've discovered a huge talent for it as well as a passion for it, but it comes with a huge price tag as well, doesn't it? And I just wonder how you've managed to put everything into your racing and do as well as you have done so far, but also try and work and get the money to do all of these things.
I'm still struggling now. Every year the budget gets harder to get and gets bigger as well. Bigger categories, bigger races. So every year it's more and more money putting into it. But I've been looking at the start. I mean, I started racing when I was 12. So that was my dad that put me on the bike, and he was paying for it with my mom. We nearly had no sponsors back then. They all just paid with like work, and my dad was working like not even overtime. He's just like all the time in the garage, building the bikes and doing that. So yeah, it's just, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have this support from start. It sort of faded away when later on, when I went into like university and stuff, and I like stopped racing a bit, and I went to race on my own. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to have them at the start.
And at what point did you find out, or were you aware of racing here on the Isle of Man?
That's one of the main things really in my sort of career, I would say, is we've always been into road racing. The first race my dad ever did was a Chimay, and that was a road race. I lived in Paris at the time, and it was closer to do the Belgian championship than the French championship. So the Belgian, we had like 3-4 road races. And at the time we had like onboards and stuff you could watch was the TT onboards mainly. And so that was all around me. And I remember when I was starting, like we had like maybe 20, 12 years old boys and girls starting to race. And then we had one guy asking like, what do you want to do later? What championship you were aiming? What? And he was like half and half world superbike and world endurance, MotoGP and stuff. And I remember a friend and me, we were the only two to say, well, we want to do the Isle of Man TT. So that was it, 12 years old, and I wanted to do it. Back then, I didn't realize the danger side. And it was just like, this is great. It's a great atmosphere. People are great. Actually, my mum went to the TT in 2005 at being a French rider. So she was the first of the family to go over. And yeah, that was it. She got the bug.
And she certainly passed it on. Do you remember having any conversations with your mum or dad about coming over and racing over here?
Well, before I actually started racing on the Isle of Man, we never really spoke about it. We never really spoke about the Isle of Man like as a conversation saying, oh, I want to race there or whatever. It was just, as I say, it was just a natural way after racing in Belgium, racing in Chimay, Jadine, and all the other races. It was just a normal continuation. I've been Belgian champion in classic racing twice, 2009 and 2010.
So I think, am I right, is it 2014 you were first here as a newcomer at the MGP?
Yes, it was. I came my mum came again in 2011 with my stepfather. He raced in the 350 classic race and I came over. So that was my first ever time over. I knew I wanted to do it straight away.
Do you remember where you stood to watch that first lap?
Actually, I don't remember the first lap. I remember that when we came over on the night boat. So we didn't really see anything. It was dark and everything. But I remember going through quite a bridge, Bray Hill, the opposite way. And I thought that can't be real. That can't be the racetrack. And after that, the next morning, a great friend drove me all around the track. And I was like, no, that can't be it. It's just like too many things, too many furnitures, trees and walls and stuff. But it's just like, eye-opener. And I think I went to Marshall the first night. I got bugged straight away as well.
And that's a really interesting thing, I think, to do before you've actually raced out there yourself. And certainly seeing it from the marshal's perspective just gives you an idea of what's involved almost behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. It's, marshalling, even coming before the event, I always say to my friends that the fellow rider that wants to come over, I always say, if you can go there once before your actual newcomer year, just do it, because everything is different from a race meeting on the continent and the square. And yeah, marshalling, it was just a way to put something into the event and not just like stay on the side of the road and watch.
2014 then, it must have been quite a journey for you to get to the start line. What do you remember about the support that you received and the learning that took place for you?
Well, if we go back in time a bit, so 2011 I went for the first time and then came again in 2012 for the Monks Grand Prix. And after that, 2013, it was a bit of a different year because that's when I went into university and I stopped racing for a bit. And I actually got a job opportunity to be in England. So I went to work for IP Racing in Coventry. So from July 2013 to August 2014, I was in Coventry. And from then, I actually decided when in October 2013, I actually got the thing and said, I want to do it. And I want to do it next year. So I called a friend on the island, Danny Pulling, that got a PFR 400. And I did ask him the bike to race. And he actually said one thing, because he knew me since I was little. And he said, you can race and I can build you a race bike, just if both of your parents are okay. So that's actually when we had the conversation with my parents saying, oh, I'm going to do the monks. They both said yes. So yeah, October 2013, that was the first thing. So I got in touch with the Monks Motorcycle Club. Jim Hunter contacted me back, and I went to both newcomer weekends, February and March. And then afterwards, I did one day at Andreas Racing, one day at Derby, and yeah, finally did the monks.
And so the day comes in 2014, presumably over on the boat, arriving on the Isle of Man, knowing that this time you are going to be part of the racing scene itself. What do you remember about all of that time?
I don't have a fond memory of coming over and everything. I would say before the first practice, because I was coming over every year since like 3-4 years. Then I knew how the paddock was. I knew what we had to do. So it wasn't much different up until the first practice. And that was when it started to be different. I did my first lap with the speed control lap behind, that was Bob Parrington. And I was okay with it. I mean, the speed was great. It was not too fast, so I could actually follow him. But the first proper lap I was when I was on my own, that was then that I actually thought, well, that's maybe I need to work a bit more because, like, for the first time I was on my own, both lanes, not just the left. So yeah, that was the first time. And first time I was reaching such speeds. Actually, I did finish one lap, and I could have carried on for a second lap. I just stopped, and I said to the mechanic, I said, "Oh, bike's not seeming right. Something is different." And that was just the speed and the bike going at these speeds that I never experienced before.
Who did you have with you?
So I had my first year, I had my little brother. They came with me. And then I had Calvin Pullen, so the owner of the bike, and his friend Jim Weeks, that was doing the mechanic. And I had a French rider, my mum went to the Monk, to the TT week in 2005, Marc Dufour, and then I had a couple of other friends that knew the thing. So
I often wonder what it must be like, particularly think about your mum and your brother watching you fly past. And as you say, it's quite something when you're standing so close to where it's all happening. Do you remember any sort of conversations with them after you came in and what their thoughts about it all was?
Not really. I don't really remember anything about that. I know my little brother is not really into bikes, so he doesn't really realize. I don't even know I think he watched me just a couple of times over the fortnight. He was just there to get some holidays, and I mean, one day he went to the Glen and have a walk, and another time he went to a laser game. So it was just for him. I think it wasn't the thing, but for my mum, she pushed me into it. So I don't know if she was scared or anything. She didn't say anything. I mean, she was happy for me, and she was happy to be there.
And when you think about your first time racing over here, you did incredibly well. Was it second in your newcomer year?
Yeah, that was second. And we were backing all week with James Cabot Cox. One day he was first, and one day I was first. So came race day, and we should have been racing on Saturday. The weather wasn't great, so they actually postponed the race to the Monday. And I don't really remember what happened, but I think it may have been that it was a 4-lap race, and they reduced it to 2 laps. And the trick with these 400s is you can actually do 3 laps on a tank if you got a 24-liter tank. So I actually contacted a couple of people, but I couldn't find one. And what he did, James, he actually built one for the night. So come race day, and he had a big tank and I had a small one, so I had to stop. I actually led the race for the first 2 laps, and then I stopped, went to the beats, and back again. And I lost about 45 seconds, something like that. And he carried on. and he won the race by 30 seconds. That was it.
Oh, I can't imagine. I mean, second is absolutely incredible, but to know that actually, had you been able to get that tank, probably that victory would have been yours. I guess, though, does that just make you more determined for the next time out? Because clearly there was no question that you were going to come back.
Yeah, exactly. But that was one of the things, that the race was supposed to be 4 laps, and all the, because it used to be 3 laps on the 400s, and then they moved to a 4-lap race. So there was no point having a big tank. But then it reduced the race, but I couldn't get one made. I mean, he sorted it out, but I didn't. So for the following year, I started to think with the owner of the bike, well, maybe we should do a tank. But then it was always the thing that the race was supposed to be 4 laps. So it was always the balance on that side. But yeah, definitely I came back and I wanted more.
And obviously, you keep coming back. There is something about racing over here in the Isle of Man which just really just keeps you coming here and wanting to be on that start line. And has it got easier or harder as the years have gone on?
Well, it's been harder on the, I would say, on the money and on the budget, and it's been harder to plan, I would say. I always want to come back. Definitely. It's the island. The island, it's a whole thing. You racing there is, I mean, racing is always great. And then you're racing on the greatest racetrack on the world. You get feelings that you can't get anywhere else. And then you can actually do 5 miles of the racetrack, and you're in a totally different world. So I always want to come back to the Isle of Man. But yeah, we've had a few like quiet years when I started, and then nowadays for the last 5 years we've been battling with different stuff, insurances, and it's getting harder and harder to race.
And on top of everything else, that must just be so frustrating. Like you say, you've got so much else to think about, just the basic funding and trying to get sponsorship. Racers don't necessarily find it very easy to go out and ask people to help them financially for something that really is a passion of theirs. But like you say, when you add things like insurance and everything onto it, it just becomes a much more complicated thing. And I know, speaking to the Manx Motorcycle Club, this is something that you've been hugely helpful with, particularly with some of the other French newcomers, just helping them out with things like insurance and the general admin of it. Why is it so important to you to support other racers like that?
I mean, I like to help. Every time I'm going to a race meeting, if I'm not racing, I need to help someone. I remember when I was a lad and I wasn't racing yet, but I knew the things, I knew how to pit board, and I knew a couple of things like that. And I remember staring, like I was on the pit hall for a full day, and I was starting to help people that I didn't know, and just like went to the TV and giving the results, giving gaps, and it's just like helping with the tire warmers. And I always wanted to help. I don't like seeing someone in a difficult situation. One of the things is in 2014, we came from 1 or 2 French newcomers at the Monks to, I think, I can't remember the exact figure, but we were like 7 newcomers. So we went from 1 to 7. It was a big thing for us. We sort of knew each other. Yeah, we made a Facebook group for us, and we made everything to understand everything. I actually translated the 2014 rules in French for everybody to understand, and I just carried on over the years. Every year someone was asking, and I think that's may have to do with the fact that I actually live in England, and I can actually speak English. And then, yeah, the contact with the Manx Motorcycle Club, I like to help both sides because I think that's a great event.
That's such a lovely thing to do. I mean, translating all the rules and everything must have taken quite a lot of time. So that commitment, and something you said again earlier, was just about you feel that it's important to give back to the event, which you clearly love so much. And it's, I mean, not just the MGP, you've done the Southern as well.
Yeah, I've done the first year, 2014. That was actually my first Isle of Man road race. I'd like to do it again, but it's just getting so difficult. I mean, with the travel insurance, everything. They're coming back to the newcomers. It's just that I'm not a mechanic, and I don't always have the space. I didn't have the space, and I didn't have the bike in 14, so I didn't have the bike to care about. I just wanted to do something to help. I knew that they have big bikes to build and everything. So if I could help in any way, and yeah, I just carried on that. Every year, I'm in contact with newcomers, and it's just, if I can help, if they don't want, no problem. But if they need, I'm here, and they can call me, they can ask me any questions.
And what would you say would be the best piece of advice you could give people thinking about doing this and following you and what you've done?
Now, I would say just don't stress. That's what I say now. Be in peace with yourself. I know it's difficult one because we always are. We've got trouble with the sponsorship. And now, I mean, going to the monks is getting, I mean, I think the budget went 3 or 4 times bigger than when we started, nearly. But it's just, the event is great, is big, and you need to prepare for it. There was so much support from the Monks Motorcycle Club, from the other competitors, and I try as well. That, as I said, just be in a good state of mind. Got your bike ready, and everything will come. I would say, best advice: don't stress.
I think that's good advice generally, actually. And thinking about the other events, I mean, you mentioned you'd love to come back and do the Southern again. I'm guessing, time is as precious as anything, isn't it? And you're trying to work alongside things. What are your plans for 2025?
2025, big change. I'm going to the TT, finally stepping up. So yeah, I'm going to the TT Super Sport and Super Twin classes. I've done them out for 9 years now. I started on classic bikes and 400s. And after my win in 2019, I thought, well, now I need to step up go on another class. So I bought a 600. And in some ways, I was lucky because 2020, nothing happened. 21 either. So I got something like a year and a half to learn the bike. So I came back in 22 with the 600. So I've done the monks 3 times on the 600, and now it's time to step up.
Are you anticipating it to be quite different?
I mean, the difference is it is different and not in some ways. The thing is, we'll be coming from the fastest on the track, nearly. I'm not the fastest, but I mean, the fastest group on track to the slowest. And the paddock will be going from when we are on tarmac ground and nice one, and probably going into the grass. So yeah, we're going from the top end of one event to the back end of the other one. But it's just, sometimes you need to do it. You need to step up and try to be with the best. I know on track it won't be easy. I've seen now that the sessions are split with 600 and 1000, so I won't have that trouble getting passed by a much, much quicker machine. But I mean, the riders, they're pretty quick, so I need to learn from them.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, isn't it? Sort of like you say, going back, having had so much experience and done so well over here. And I wonder what it's like for you to stand on the top of the podium and hear your country's anthem blaring out, and just knowing that, you've got all those French supporters, and we know there are so many of them for the events over here, just thinking, wow, he's done it. How does that feel?
It's just great feeling. One of the best feeling in the world, really. The only downside to that is I wasn't the first French victory in the week, because Pierre-Yves won the newcomer race the day before, so I was the second French winner of the week. But no, it was great. It's just unexpected. I think that's the main word, unexpected. I started in 14, came back in 15, 19, 14, finished 4th in 15. I was battling for the podium in 16. Unfortunately, I break down the bike on the last lap. Didn't do 17. I did 18. And 18, I won the best 400 award. That was within the lightweight or super twin race. And coming back in 19, I saw some pictures not long ago. I wasn't supposed to be on the bike for a start. Through the winter, a newcomer was supposed to be on the bike, but he didn't get the entry. So I went to the owner and I said, "Oh, actually, I would like the bike," but we didn't do much to the bike. I think the engine wasn't rebuilt since the last time we did it. And he was just like, okay, we just get some mileage. I was already stepping up to the classic superbike. So the 400 were just to get some miles and get a bit of fun, maybe improve my lap time. And that's what happened in practice. I didn't get a very nice practice week. So I think I was on 10th in practice. But this time we had made a big chunk. And even then we had to stop. The rules was that we had to stop. Even then we didn't need to refuel. So it was a pre-lap race and we had to stop at the end of lap 2. And so I just went and just put my foot down and go again. And I knew that I was catching people, but I had no idea on my position and didn't have any keyboards. So I remember the last lap and people were cheering me and clapping and everything. So I thought, right, I'm mostly in a good position, but I was thinking about podium and something like that. And it's just when I came to the winner enclosure and they actually put me number 1. I'm watching the video on YouTube sometimes and remember that because it was just totally unexpected.
But not totally unexpected from the people who are watching, though, Lancelot, because I think, your talent is clear to see and you're on many people's lips when they're out there watching you. And it's going to be brilliant seeing you back here, not only for MGP, but also TT as well. As we're talking, it is the middle of January, and I know for road races it can be a very long winter when actually all you want to do is be out there on the bike. How do you cope with this time of year?
Well, that's the time to get the budget, to upgrade it, not to spend too much, and cleaning the bikes, doing a lot of sports. I mean, I'm cycling quite a lot, and when I'm speaking to my friends or my colleague, and they say, "Oh yeah, but that's winter. I'm not cycling in winter." And I said, "Yeah, but I can't cycle through the summer. I mean, I'm off every second weekend, so I'm putting the mileage in the winter more than the summer." And then now we were in the middle of January. I'm waiting for at the end of the month. We will have a lot of replies on the event going this year. So last week of January, first week of February will be, I would say, decisive on the year coming.
And it's interesting talking about the need to be physically fit, because I think sometimes, again, this is something people don't realise just how important it is, because it's no mean feat wrestling a machine around a lap of the TT course.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't do much physical work until I sort of stepped up to the bigger bikes. When I was on the smaller bikes, it was always sort of, okay, didn't have long races. Now the weight of the bike, I mean, I'm coming from classic races and 125s, 2-stroke, so it's just a totally different way of riding. And now I needed to put some weight on, I would say, put some muscles on. So I started and get a better cardio. So started cycling, running, doing a bit of weightlifting, and that's it.
So thinking about this year then, what is it that you are really hoping to achieve?
Well, to start on the TT is, I don't have much expectation really. Just improve on my lap times. It will be the first time I'm on Super Twin, so I've got no real target, but just definitely improve on what I've done at the Monks.
And are we expecting many newcomers this year for things like the MGP?
On the French side, I think we're on. I would say I think we're 5 newcomers. I know last year there was only 1, but usually it's between 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 sometimes.
And again, that must feel great because you are one of the reasons that some of these French riders are going to come here and want to be part of this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I sometimes question myself, and I'm not sure they wouldn't be here if I wasn't there, but it will be probably more difficult. Definitely, they're not all speaking English. They're not all talking English and writing. So that's one of the things, and then understanding everything, and I mean all the rules. I would say the admin side, the insurance, what we need in terms of racing equipment, the bike, what needs to be on the bike. So yeah, I'm just trying to help them achieve their goal. I mean, just coming to the Isle of Man afterwards, they do their own work.
Well, we know your help and support is very much appreciated. And if anyone's listening and they want to follow your progress and see how you're getting on, maybe offer you some support, hopefully, how can they do that?
Yes, so I've got a Facebook page. So I've got my own Lancelot Unissart page, and then I've got a sort of a racing page. So it's Lancelot Unissart Racing. That's it. I'm trying to, but I'm not posting a lot. Sometimes I'm not even posting about when I won the Manx Grand Prix back in 19. I didn't put anything, and I just put something like 2 months later. I'm not the quickest on that.
I suppose it's hard though. You've got so much else going on, haven't you? But it does seem to be an important part of the whole racing scene these days. Brilliant to talk to you. We cannot wait to see you back here on the Isle of Man. And we wish you all the very best for your newcomer year at the TT, and can't wait to see how you get on.
Thank you. Can't wait to come back and come back to the Manx as well.
Lancelot Unissart, just brilliant to talk to him all the way over there in France, the power of technology, and we do wish him all the very best with his TT debut in 2025. And as he said, also hoping to be riding the classic at the MGP this year as well. I put the link on the podcast page so you can follow his racing, but as he said himself, sometimes he's not always bang up to date. I think there's a lot going on for him, so we do appreciate that sometimes the social media takes a little bit of a back seat. This podcast is brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance. You can find out more about them by visiting kawasaki-insurance.co.uk. And if you'd like to get in touch and share your own story, I would love to hear from you. BethEspy@manxradio.com is the best email address. Until next time then, take care. Bye-bye.